All right. Today we are going to talk about a book that we read. It's actually sci-fi and magic combined, so we're really excited. It's called A Big Ship at the Edge of the Universe
by Alex White.
Yes, and we're excited to talk about this one. It is unique in the fact that it's kind of a mix between sci-fi and fantasy. So, I'm Kimberly.
I'm Carly. Welcome to our channel.
Yes, okay, right. So initial thoughts, Carly, what do you think?
I mean, I liked it. I liked the mix of sci-fi and fantasy. I haven't read a whole lot of books like that. And usually it's sci-fi and then there's fantasy. Right? And the fact that they have, you know, this evolution of where magic, they use it to power their ships. They use it
is so fun.
For everything. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, so I had started the book first, actually, and I immediately had to go talk to Carly. I'm like, Carly, did you know that it was both sci-fi and fantasy together? And Carly was like, yeah, I kind of did. I kind of read the back because I don't like to read the back or synopsis.
She does not read synopsis
I'm like, I want to jump in feet first and give me a whoosh of what it's about. I was so excited. And it was actually our brother who's like, oh yeah, you know, Dune is like that, sort of. They don't like computers in the book called Dune, you know, and so it was just fun.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
A little twist to the book.
Yeah, and it was really interesting. So there's two main characters. Just a little brief synopsis of what's going on, right? So we have two main characters that you follow, which they're both females, and what that's kind of cool, right? And one of them is a very rich, privileged racer.
So Nyla, she is she's a racer. She's from a very wealthy family.
Yes.
She's been racing.
High connections.
Yes. She's been racing these cars basically since she was like 5, and she wants to become like the person who has won the most championships at the youngest. And so this is her life. This is all really that she focuses on.
And the book starts off with her.
Yes.
And her in a race.
Yeah, she's about to start a race, and she goes into this race.
Exactly. And the magic comes in, well, each person has like different types of magic.
Yes.
And magic is used to power their ships.
And magic is very common. Like, everyone has magic.
Everyone.
So it's just a part of life. So what kind of sigil you have, what kind of glyph you can write.
Exactly. And so the society essentially has been built around everybody having magic. And you kind of pick your career choice based off of what type you have.
Yes.
And it's just completely built into the society and normal. And then you have the other girl who you follow, and she's introduced right away, chapter 2 or something like that.
So they call her Boots.
Right.
And so Boots...
little Dora the Explorer, I'm not gonna lie, but continue.
Yes, a little bit. But, so Boots is more jaded. She's like an ex-soldier. She's trying to scrape out a living after her planet was... Basically, her planet, her society was all destroyed, and she's like... So she sells treasure maps, is what she does at the very beginning. She sells them to anyone who will buy them, really.
Yes.
And so she is kind of the opposite of Nyla. She's very, very jaded. She's more cynical.
Yes.
She's a little rough around the edges.
But to be fair, she's had a rough life. It says in the beginning that she was born without any magic, which is super rare. I think the stat that it gave was 1 in every 5 million people are born without any type of magic. So that's her lot. She's like, how lucky can you be? And she kind of is a little bit like dark and cynical about it. Yeah. On top of that, she is older. It does mention it, although it does take a while to get to this info.
But she's about halfway through the book before we realize
how old she is.
How that Boots was like in her mid-40s.
Right, and you don't really get that impression. At least I didn't at the beginning. I was like, oh, I guess she's probably the same age as Nyla, because...
Yeah, you start with Nyla, who's young, and a racer, and then it moves to Boots, and you're not sure, so you
kind of assume, but then it leads and gives you clues that she's a little bit on the older side, and she has some past, which has led her to not have very good human relationships with people at all. She has trust issues for sure, and that kind of starts out with her. And one thing that I have to say is very unique. Usually when you have books that I've read where it goes back between two different characters, right, it's kind of to describe different events that are happening in the same universe, the same time, in two different areas or places, right? But this book does something different. You actually have these two characters. They're very distinct, the chapters of who you're following, but they actually meet up very soon. It's like chapter like 5 or 6. You're like, oh my gosh, they're meeting, and they stayed together the whole time.
Yeah, right off the bat, they
it's
come
unique,
together.
And I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long for the author to bring all of the characters that you pretty much follow together and
Yeah.
start forming these relationships.
Yeah, and essentially they become
So-
one crew, and they have this adventure together, and
You've got Nyla and essentially Boots, who they're both kind of wanted, and they're both
Yeah.
running,
mhm.
and they kind of have to deal with the consequences of all of these things that are happening to them.
yeah,
So
it's
they go,
true.
and so they kind of go on a hunt for a big ship at the edge of
At
the
the
universe.
edge of the universe.
So
Exactly. And one thing that's really fun is they kind of like banter around and joke around. Or Nyla, she is privileged, and you
she's
have
very pampered.
she's very pampered. She's
Yeah.
on this ship. They're essentially criminals, and they don't have the best quality of life /
Yes.
standards. The ship is run down. You know, they kind of have to ration, and so they make fun of her being like, "So, you're so pampered." She's like, "I'm not pampered." I'm like, "You kind of are."
Well, she says like, well, this is how hard I work to be a racer, and they're like, okay, so you can work hard, but you still complain the fact that we don't have the best entertainment system, or the best
Yeah.
showers, or the best food.
Yeah.
And so like, you're still pampered.
And she's like, "Fine, I'm pampered. You're right. I do like to sleep in my nice bed."
Yeah. So eventually, as it goes on, Nyla has to realize, how nice her life has actually been, especially compared to someone like Boots, who doesn't have magic, whose whole life kind of was upended 20 years before.
Absolutely.
Which was fun. It was fun to see the dynamic between the two.
Yes, it was. And it gets really, their relationship develops.
It does.
Right? At first, they're just kind of acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then they kind of a little despise each other.
A little bit.
A little bit. And then they kind of start to see each other's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then they become friends.
Yeah.
And trust each other.
And it's also between, like, with all of the other characters on the ship as well, as they all,
Yes.
because they end up on Boots' like old crew, with her old captain
Yes.
and her old ship, and so it brings up a lot of memories for Boots, and a lot of judging a lot of memories through with her captain and the decisions that they made in this war that they had fought a long time ago, and so that adds a lot to Boots' character to understand more of where she came from and why she is the way she is.
Yeah. It's
So.
true. It's true.
So I think the author did a good job.
I think he did. I think he did
character.
too. Yeah. One thing that I want to say was the end was fun.
The end was fun.
The end was fun. I really liked how the big bad guy at the end had persuasion powers and could change people's mind in an instant, but yet they prepared for it because they knew, and it was all like flashy and showy.
I'm excited to see where the rest of the series goes.
Yeah.
The other books in the series. So it was a really good book in my opinion, because it's one of those we picked off the shelf because I read the back, it sounded good, and I like sci-fi books, so we're like, let's see how this is.
Absolutely. Any negatives or things that the author could have done better?
I mean, sometimes I would get a little lost, trying to follow like the dynamics of like the world building a little bit. I feel like the world building could have been a little bit more solid, because there was a lot of dynamics, especially with like Nyla, because she's very well connected, trying to keep track of how like the government works or the security, all of those things. That was a really solid start to world building. I think that could have been a little bit more developed and a little bit more nailed in of how things actually worked.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. I felt like you were a little bit confused, even of the magic systems. It wasn't quite as precise and clear as it could have been. Granted, info dumps are not my fave, but I needed a little bit more.
A little bit more info. Yeah.
Like, where is the information that tells you what kind of magic systems or that
Like,
you
how
could
do you-
be born with?
Yeah,
Right?
The different
Is it-
varieties and the different.
Yeah, I needed a little bit more information, and I do appreciate when authors try to like incorporate it into the storyline, and it's not just, okay, this is my world that I've built and here we go, but it was a little bit vague and confusing at times as the reader. And also, one thing that I kind of got lost a little bit in the minutia of what they were after, or what they were going, it was a treasure hunt, and plus they had this bad guy they were fighting, but I don't know. Sometimes I got a little bit lost with the adventures along the way, I guess.
Yeah, especially in the very beginning, like in the first half of the book, you're like, I'm not exactly sure what the end goal is.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's some people after Nyla, but what exactly is their interest, like the rest of the crew's interest in Nyla, once the fact that they're not going to get a bounty on her or anything like that, why do they care? Why do they care?
Exactly.
So there was that, which is a little confusing.
It was a little confusing.
So-
It was hard to get through the middle. The end wrapped up nicely, though.
Yes.
And it did kind of make a pathway for the next books of the series.
So,
Yeah.
it was good. It was a good start to a series.
And I feel also, when it comes to sci-fi, it's on the easier end of
Yes, that's
understanding,
true.
of enjoyment.
Because it's
for
kind of like a bridge
reader
between,
age
between
as well.
fantasy and sci-fi.
Exactly.
So, which was fun.
Yes.
Tell us what you guys think of a big
Yes.
ship at the end of the universe.
If you want to know, comment below or follow us on any of our social media platforms, and please
So our
subscribe.
link to Instagram will be in the description.
below.
So look at that. So ratings. What would you
Ratings.
rate it?
I don't know. Let's say like an 82.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
82.
Like a low B.
Low B.
Like it was a solid start, but there was things that could be improved.
Absolutely.
So let's go with 82.
82.
Awesome.
Bye.
See you guys next time.